helping you put the big P in profession. Here's our career Sherpa, Julie Bauke.
Let's find out what she's complaining about today, shall we, Jewel?
Come on. I don't complain.
Screaming and yelling at clouds, reading your newspapers. I get it. Jules, how are you? Everything okay? Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Merry Kwanzaa.
You too.
Right.
How much time are you taking off? How many weeks? 3, 4?
Yeah, probably the whole month of... no, that's Willie starting today, and he won't be back until, I think, June.
I
that's
think
in golf
got
season.
it right.
Okay. I think he
got
does.
the right idea.
I think he does too. But anyway, so the topic today is you would think, and I think is a really good point, the lack of telecommuting. I thought by now, especially with the economy as good as it is, so many more workers would be for working from home and not even going into the office. But the numbers don't back that up.
Well, and it is 70% of people say that flexibility in their schedule is very important.
Right.
And interestingly, 46% of people say they'd take a 10% reduction in their pay just to have it. And so people are not only saying, I want it, but they're saying, I'd give up something else like money to get it. So it's really one of the real challenges of work today. Because employers, in a lot of cases, still a lot of boomers are still calling the shots, and we're very much of the generation that said, be here at 8. Did I say 8:05? No, I said 8. Mm-hmm. And what are you doing walking out the door at 5:02? And we were all raised and really came of age work-wise in that world and that way of thinking, and this is just, it's like it's a completely different concept. And I think a lot of organizations are really hanging on to the old ways of doing things, and it's going to cost them significantly.
Well, is it because boomers are working longer than ever, and it's obviously working longer than ever and remaining in control, and that they don't see the value in this thing? Sure. I mean, I know, actually, I have a couple neighbors, at least a few neighbors that do the same thing. It's like they work out of the house a few days a week and go in maybe 2 or 3 days a week downtown or whatever, and all's good with them because they can work out of the house and be actually more productive. My sister-in-law, same thing. She works out of her house other than maybe I think a day every few weeks where she travels, but she's able to get some more done because you wind up being on the clock longer. You're actually more productive working from home.
Yeah. But it's that old, if I can't see you, you're not working. It's that old way of thinking. And what we're doing is we're measuring people's value by the number of hours we can see them. I mean, I remember back, in the 80s when I joined the job market, there was there were big organizations that, people would, you definitely don't leave before the boss leaves. And you definitely want to be there before the boss gets there. So people would do things like leave their lights on, hang their jackets on the back of their chairs, do it for each other, to fool the system. And the desire and need for flexibility to manage our lives has always been there. And no matter what you say, people will work around it. So why not hire adults, trust them as adults, treat everybody as adults until they prove that they can't be trusted to do the work? Then you handle those on a one-on-one basis instead of saying, Fred screwed up early Fridays for everybody.
Yeah.
So,
right.
There's
that guy. Yeah. Well, then you deal with that on an individual basis. You don't punish everybody because one guy. It's not the Army.
No, but you know what? On top of that, people have. We could do a whole separate show on. People have a fear of having tough conversations with their people.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking to Fred about the fact that his hours are. He asked for hours from 9 to 6 to get his kids on the school bus, but everybody knows he leaves at 5.
Right.
So it's our fear of it. So we just put these policies in place that really are going to drive people away or limit your ability to attract.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't know how you rise that level and not. Sometimes you got to be confrontational, and it's not. It's like if someone is underperforming, you just tell them it's like, hey, you got to tighten your game up. It's like I have no problem doing that. I don't understand what's up. Watch this. Hey, Jimmy, you suck. Pick it up. Let's go. Step it up a little bit answering these calls. How hard was that?
Jimmy should just walk out the door right now.
Go ahead. I got 10 more guys. 10 more. Wait, don't leave.
But people, and again, this now on top of it, the millennials, the younger generations supposedly have a hard time taking difficult feedback. But I betcha if you said to somebody, here's what we expect out of you in a week. Here's what it looks like. Here's how we're going to know whether you're doing it or not. And if you want more flexibility, prove to me. We'll try it for 90 days.
Right.
Prove to me that you can still keep up the same level of productivity, still be responsive to customers and coworkers, and we'll consider making it. We'll consider making it more of a regular thing.
Right, and maybe you're in a different role. It's like Buddy the Elf, right? Buddy the Elf. He couldn't make the etch-a-sketches like the other elves. Couldn't keep up with his quota. What do? They find something else further down the trough for the guy.
I have not seen that movie, so I'm depending on you for the references.
Should I?
I know.
Do I need to pull out a Dickens something you can relate to, or maybe? I don't know. Anyway, Julie, old ass Julie Bauke's here on 700 WLW. We're talking about career stuff. This one is the lack of telecommuting. Although it seems like more people are doing it, and maybe just working a couple days a week from home.
Yeah,
which seems it's more reasonable. I get that you got to make there's FaceTime, you got to come in and do stuff. But now the metrics are that I would say that if you're doing your job and getting it done, then does it really matter if you're doing it at home in your pajamas or you're coming in with a suit and tie every day or a nice dress and a pantsuit or whatever and hanging? Because I would contend that I'm more productive at home. Now the boss will go, well, I can't see you. You're probably feeding your dog and playing with your kids and watching TV. Well, if the work isn't getting done, it's easy to quantify that.
Right, exactly.
On the other hand, I work with a bunch of people. Their whole job is simply to go around and bother other people and just what's going on? Yeah, work sucks today. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next person and talk to them and work for maybe 2 hours a day. And yet the individuals here, at 8 a.m. and they allegedly don't leave until, meanwhile, there's like a 4-hour lunch and everything. It's like, well, what is it you do here? You're here, but you're not doing anything.
And they think they're fooling people, and maybe they are fooling the boss. And you've hit on the problem, and which is I was speaking at an event one time, and I asked people, I thought it was a rhetorical question, how many of you know exactly what's expected of you at work? And 2 people raised their hands.
Right.
And so I think from a leadership standpoint, you've got to make it crystal clear what success looks like and what's expected. And if you can't do that, then, I don't know what to tell you. I was talking to somebody the other day whose husband works remotely, and his team is remote, and I forget where the headquarters is located, but the new boss or whatever, new management said, okay, no more telecommuting. Everybody has to come into the office.
Oh,
and
God.
Yeah, and so they've got some people in this area and some people in Atlanta, places where the commute is just a nightmare. And I'm like, yep, I hope they know they're going to lose people. Your best people are going to say, yep, nope, I'm not spending. In Atlanta, it can be a monstrous commute.
Couple 2 hours in traffic just to get to the office.
Day.
Yeah.
Right. And so yep, so that's the rule. And that is just stupid. And
right.
if your goal is to get everybody to quit, especially in a good job market, I mean, maybe you could get away with that in 2008, but we're in a job market now where your best people are going to say, yep, nope. They're going to go along with it for a short period of time, but you can bet they're getting out there on LinkedIn and they're reaching out to their network and trying to find something else.
Right.
So it's just, something's going to have to give. But, let's...
Well, let me play a little bit of devil's advocate here, if you will, Julie. And certainly there are a lot of jobs that, you could do it from home easily with a laptop or a system the company set. And it's a minimal amount of investment in infrastructure. They can actually see what you're doing on your computer too. How much time you're putting in, so they can track you even better because there's programs that actually do that, algorithms like. But there's another sector here too. I'm a big proponent of the trades and trades jobs. There's jobs out there outside of trades, but other ones where you actually physically have to be present. Customer service and things like that you can't do from home. Is that included in here too? That there's jobs that you have to show up. Which I would say though, the upside is not everybody wants that job where they could telecommute. There are people out there, believe it or not, still that enjoy. Hey, listen, you know what? If I'm an electrician, I'm a plumber, I'm HVAC, whatever it is that I do, I know that I go, I do the job, and there's some overtime. Some days I'm working 10-hour days, but when I leave at the end of the day, I'm not bringing it home with me. It's over. It's not following me. I don't want my business life polluting my personal life any more than it does.
But there's also a lot of people who do jobs that could easily be done remotely that don't want that either. They like being in an office.
Getting out of the house.
Structure.
Right.
Yeah, but what I would also tell you is it's not just about hours. It could be about, like with your electricians, your plumbers, it could be about a compressed work week. So you might work 4.5 days, 2 weeks in a row, or 4.5 days. Okay, math's not my thing, but you know what I mean. You might work, like a lot of times organizations will say, okay, we're going to let you off at noon on Fridays, but you work a longer work week on work days on Monday through Thursday, but you get off on noon, on like nurses do. I mean, nurses have that kind of a flexibility where they'll change up their work week so that they get some time off to take care of life stuff. But they make up for it in other ways, like other days, 4/10s or something like that. So in the trades or hands-on type of work, if you really, it's so hard to find people. That's actually a perfect situation for a business owner who wants to try to set something like that up, who's having a hard time finding tradespeople. Is say, okay, not only, are we going to pay you at market, but here's our work week so that you're off every other Friday afternoon. That's huge. I mean, right there's people listening to this right now going, yeah, give me some of that.
Yeah, but the problem is this, we don't have enough people doing it, so you can maybe do once a month, but you can't afford, because there's just not enough bodies to do the work, to do it every other week. But I hear what you're saying. Julie Bauke on the...
If you could hire all the people who want to come work for you, you'd have plenty of people if you offered something like that. Steal them, baby.
Yeah, steal them away. I mean, that's the business model, right? And everyone's recruiting these days.
Flexjobs.com. I want everybody who's interested to go to flexjobs.com. They do a fantastic job of laying out the flexible jobs and vetting them to make sure that they're real.
I think it's really good. And you wonder, it's like, especially in this day and age, I could have you remember when it was going to be, well, we've got the system in place now. It's virtual meetings, and there's a camera and the cameras and everything. Hell, I got FaceTime on my phone, right? It's an app. It's easier doing that before. And yet, it's amazing to me how many people, like here, even in our company, wind up flying to New York or San Antonio or whatever to have face-to-face meetings. So why? I don't understand it. How hard is it to just do it on your phone?
Well, there's been a lot of crackdown on that. But for some people, truly, as dumb as it sounds, it's frequent flyer miles. It's I want to get away from home. It's I travel, so therefore I'm important.
Right. There's
still a lot of fluff in there.
Yeah, I don't know why you just can't do this, and why you need to see the JO you're talking to. It doesn't make much sense.
You get a nice dinner out, I guess.
Well, but I'll tell you what, there's a lot of questions. You look at it and go, why is the hierarchy the way it is? Now, we had it. This is a funny story. I've never told this out of the air before, but in a previous administration here, we had a remodel done. So the corporate people came in from New York to design our state-of-the-art building and all this stuff, and never really bothered to. And it's funny how people at the top make decisions, never really talk to the people who are actually working in the environment. And so the decision was made. Actually, the designer, this is the best. We have something called an uninterrupted power supply, UPS, which is big, a battery in case we lose power. We can still, operate and stuff like that. And we had a big closet that's called the UPS room. And the designer came in and demanded to know why we have a room set up just for the UPS package guy. Why couldn't he drop the packages off the front desk?
Oh, my God.
The front desk. And Dave, our engineer, had explained to them and what that was. But anyway, they set this thing up, and it's all glitzy and, the no cubicle environment, the open office space. And so they put all the on-air people in one area, but it's like 10 nautical miles away. You've been in this building, 10 nautical miles away from where the work is actually done. And so I run back and forth to my desk quite often during the course of a show. And I said, listen, I need to be kind of closer to where the work is, especially during the show. And nope, can't have it. This is the way it's laid out. And as soon as the person who said that was no longer with the company, I instantly moved all my stuff closer to where I wanted to be.
Oh, yeah.
And the best part is, the other part is, it was so close to the area where the big kitchen is that people would come in the morning, usually before my show, and want to chat about, what the Bengals did yesterday, or what I thought about the Reds, or what about this, that. And because, they're just starting their day and want to BS.
Right.
Well, before the coffee kicks in, they have to go use the restroom. So they want to talk to me. I'm like, I got to get the hell out of here. I ain't getting stuff done. And honestly, for 2 years, Julie Bauke, I would go down to my old desk and put a cup of coffee or a pen and move some stuff around. There were still people down at the other end of the building that thought my desk was there.
Oh,
I was
God.
Invisible for 2 years. It was the greatest.
Love it. Now that's
how about that for a
Creative.
backwards ass kind of, but to your point on telecommuting is like, as long as the work is getting done, But, you've talked all the time. There's a lot of managers, a lot of bosses, a lot of superiors, vice presidents, et cetera, who, quite honestly, are scared of their own shadow, scared of the person above them, and, have low self-esteem and thinking that I got to be in control, otherwise my power is usurped. It's the stupidest thing
And then
ever.
I'll lose my job because I won't be needed anymore. So what's getting done without me? What's the need for me?
That's right. There's still people in this building. My desk is down the hall. It's the greatest thing ever. All right, Jill.
Again.
Have a great holiday.
Yeah.
You're doing the podcast. Are you on hiatus for the holiday?
Catherine Nero's episode comes out tomorrow. The Evolved Career.
The Evolved Career. Of course, look for it in your podcast, iHeartRadio, and et cetera, with Catherine Nero. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye.
All right, take care. There you go. Okay, goodbye.